Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the worst 10 brawlers in the game right now. So I'm going to be dropping a tier list in a few days time, so this is just in preparation. As always, I like to do the best and the worst brawlers as soon as the update drops, so let me know if there's any surprises in here. There's a couple of brawlers that have actually made it outside of the worst 10, of course. So before we jump into it, then make sure you're using a credit code. That'd be greatly appreciated. And without further ado, let's hop into it. Okay, so jumping into the 10th worst brawler in the game right now, we have Jackie. So Jackie, even when she narrowly escapes the bottom 10 brawlers in the game, I think as the metas go on, she slowly starts to go back in that bottom 10 category, just because she gets power crept a lot and she has one of the worst ranges in the game, so it's just pretty easy to counter her right now. And the big reason why she's actually in the bottom 10, could it even be lower than 10, is because of a lot of the map changes. A lot of open maps in the game right now. A lot of the Brawl maps which used to have unbreakable walls have been removed, and of course Jackie needs as many walls as possible because she has such terrible range, and a lot of the time you're only actually like trading out a kill if you even get a kill with Jackie anymore. But as I said, she's still pretty decent in Brawl overall, just somewhat useful in some other maps like Split, for example, but overall she's just way too easy to counter because of her range. Next up, as the 9th worst brawler in the game right now, we have Colt. So Colt is still really fun to play, but when it comes down to competitive setting, I don't remember the last time I really saw Colt. He used to be good on a few maps like Bridge Too Far, for example, but that's no longer in the Power League rotation, so I think he goes down in the rankings. And of course, unbreakable walls really hurts him with his super and his gadget. The main reason why you'd normally have Colt in your composition is to break open the map as much as possible, so then you can have other tank counters that just destroy the enemy team. But now Colt doesn't have too much to really go for. Like, he only really has Heist, a few maps like Kaboom Canyon, for example, but still there's just other brawlers in Heist I would rather go to get more consistent damage, like Brock, for example. So for me, Colt is definitely in the lower end of the rankings. Next up, as the 8th worst brawler in the game right now, we have Mr. P. So Mr. P actually got a brand new epic gear into the game. I think it's called Pet Power. Gives him an extra 20% damage to his porters. I don't think this really helped him out too much. Just gave him a little bit of a boost, but it's not really a noticeable one. Maybe he gets maybe a little bit more consistent damage, but still his porters are only really used to actually waste the opponent's ammo. I don't remember the last time I really get much damage onto the opponent with him. But anyway, Mr. P is just really easy to counter right now. At the longest range, he's just really easy to dodge. At close range, he doesn't deal enough damage to really pack a punch. A lot of the time, even squishier brawlers can just run at him and destroy him really quickly. So for me, Mr. P definitely is one of the worst brawlers in the game, but I've still seen him a few times in competitive. Maybe to counter those brawlers that have a slow reload speed, like the sharpshooters, for example. But Mr. P, as I said, is just so easy to counter. Next up, as the 7th worst brawler in the game right now, no surprises whatsoever, we have Brawl. So it's been a long time since Brawl has received really any buff. Well, he received a small buff to his super damage, but let's be honest, that's not really going to cut it when it comes to Brawl. The main problem is that his super is really situational in the fact that it's not like any of the other supers in the game, like El Primo, for example. You have to go a certain distance. It's only really good if you push someone into a wall or something like that, and it's just pretty hard to stop. And Brawl, of course, is only really good in Heist, so that's the only way you can actually use him right now. He's actually a really good Heist brawler, but when you try and play him in any other game mode, it just gets outranged so easy. And unless the opponent is just dumb and doesn't check a bush, you're never going to get up close to an opponent with Brawl. So yeah, for me, so easy to counter and only really has Heist. Next up, as his 6th worst brawler in the game right now, we have Tara. So Tara may seem good to a lot of people, and especially a lot of the casual players in the Brawl Stars community, but when it comes down to the competitive setting, Tara just gets absolutely destroyed. Literally every other lane in the game will beat Tara in a 1v1, even tankier brawlers. Like, Tara used to be used as kind of like a semi like tank counter, could definitely deal with other brawlers, but she was really good at shredding those tanks with her super. But I don't even think she can do that. She's even received a brand new pet gear as well, and to be honest, that's really not going to do anything because her gadget is only really used to waste the opponent's ammo. There's hardly any time it's going to get any damage. There's maybe a few scenarios, but I would say about 5% of games you're really going to get any damage out of the gadget, unless, I don't know, some dumb opponents just let you on the high save. And then with the star power, it can help with the healing, but still the pet just gets destroyed so quickly. But Tara definitely lacking in the damage, and as I said, only really viable, I would say, in a few maps in gem grab on ladder, but a competitive setting, I haven't seen her for years. Next up, as the 5th worst brawler in the game right now, we have Mortis. So again, a lot of the casuals might actually find that Mortis is a really strong brawler. He definitely can be good if you can pop off with his bats and you don't have a ready counter. But the main problem with Mortis is that he has a million counters. He's a brawler that is countered by pretty much everything. There's gadgets to counter him, star powers, supers, just main attacks. There's just so much that Mortis has to consider when he's going into a battle. No other brawler gets hurt as much as Mortis, basically. There's only very rare scenarios that he'll probably work out in Power League. Say, for example, they're just really dumb and they don't consider any counter options to any aggro, then you might go Mortis, but still, I'd rather just go another aggro assassin that can counter a lot better, like Buzz, for example, or something like that. So yeah, for me, Mortis, he's fun to play, but definitely one of the weaker brawlers in the meta. Next up, as the 4th worst brawler in the game right now, we have Gail. So Gail got absolutely destroyed with some balance changes earlier on in the year. And for me, it's just been getting worse and worse. There are some scenarios where Gail can be pretty underrated, but in terms of how strong he is in comparison to the other brawlers, it just doesn't get the value. Like, normally use Gail as a tank counter, right? Normally can shut down tanks so easily with his gadget, with his super and stun cycle, but you just can't cycle that super anymore. It takes so long to cycle, and brawlers can just get on top of you really quickly. As I said, there's a few niche scenarios where you might consider using it, maybe on some more open hot zone maps on ladder, but still, I'd rather just go other options. So for me, Gail definitely is one of the worst brawlers in the game right now. Next up, as the 3rd worst brawler in the game right now, we have Chester. So I might be hurting a lot of people's feelings right here, because he's a very loved brawler in the sense that he's pretty fun to play. He's got a really fun mechanic with his super, but when it comes down to competitive, again, he is pretty terrible. The main reason why Chester is just so bad is that he's just so predictable. Like, you'd think a brawler like Chester should be unpredictable with his supers or whatever else, but people just figured how to counter him so easily. And if he isn't cycling to his 3rd and 4th shot within his sequence with his star power, it's just so easy to take down because he just deals no damage. And a lot of time, people can just keep distance against him. Like, the only way you can really win a gunfight with Chester is you literally get on top of them, maybe with the damage gear as well. But in a competitive setting, there's just so many other brawlers that can just counter him so much easier. So for me, Chester has to be one of the worst brawlers in the game easily right now. Next up, as the 2nd worst brawler in the game right now, I've gone for Frank. So again, another brawler that can still absolutely pop off when it comes down to ladder, but just like Mortis, it definitely falls in the category that it gets countered by a million things. There's just so many supers, gadgets, star powers, all of that stuff that can counter Frank so easily. In Brawl, he can be a bit of a menace sometimes on ladder, but still, I'd rather just go some other brawlers. The only good thing about him really is just his pure HP. If if the opponent hasn't got something that can deal a lot of damage to him quickly, then of course he can have a lot of presence on the field, but other than that, he can get outranged so easily. His super can get cancelled so easily, and for me, I just don't remember the last time I've actually seen someone pick Frank and not be a troll about it. So yeah, Frank has to be one of the worst brawlers in the game. And finally, moving on to the worst brawler in the game right now, I've gone for Edgar still. So Edgar, even though he received a small 300 HP buff, it did help him out a little bit, but I'd still consider him to be one of the worst brawlers in the game quite easily right now. It's just so easy to counter in a 3v3 setting. Just again, kind of like Frank, once people start building up their supers, and once people, of course, have those gadgets to counter him, he's just going to get wiped so easily. In Showdown, he probably is really strong right now because of that HP buff, but when you correlate that to 3v3 modes, he's just hardly ever picked. We've seen a few instances when the update dropped, people trying him out in competitive, but as time goes on, people just realize that Edgar still is pretty bad because fundamentally he's got such low range, and his healing, it maybe seem OP in Showdown as I mentioned, but in 3v3, it doesn't really out-heal an opponent too often. So for me, Edgar still has to be the worst brawler in the game. Alright guys, it's going to be it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed this one. So let me know down in the comment section below who you think are the worst brawlers in the game right now. It of course may vary depending on where you are in Power League or in trophies, but overall I think this is a pretty consistent list. So let me know what videos you want to see in the coming weeks, because I'm going on holiday in a few days time, so I've got to pre-prepare a lot of content. But that's going to be it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.